Hey VC, it's Glen Kellaway from the basement. It is Wednesday afternoon, around 2 o'clock in Trenton, Ontario, Canada. I was just sitting here and felt like doing a video. Was trying to come up with some ideas. And I just am curious about others on the VC. I wanted to talk about listening habits. And, between you and your spouse, how many hours a day you listen, stuff like that, I have 10 questions that I'll answer myself. And then hopefully people will participate with a response thread, or at least comment in the comment sections if you don't do videos but watch them. I'd be really interested in everyone's opinions on these questions. We all like to talk about ourselves, so this is a perfect format for that. So let's get started. Okay. One, how many hours a day do you listen to music? Seriously listen to music, not it's in the background while you're dusting the furniture. For me, I typically start listening to music around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that goes until 5:30. So it's about, I'm going to say anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours a day. On weekends, for some reason, even though I'm retired, I seem to put the stereo on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon. Sunday, when I'm watching football, which is just starting now, or any sports, I watch it with the sound down and I put on music and I listen to music and watch whatever game is on. Yeah, quite a few hours of listening, especially since I've been retired. Number two, just curious about your preference of format. CD, vinyl, or both? Be honest. If you don't like CDs, tell us why. I know there's been a couple of contests lately where they said no CDs can be shown. So, I am Switzerland when it comes to these formats. I love them both. I have an extensive CD collection, about 2,500 titles, and I value them and listen to CDs just as often as I listen to vinyl. Whatever I feel like listening to it, if it's on CD, and I have a lot of audiophile CDs like SACDs and MoFis, and they sound great. So I don't have a problem. Vinyl has its strengths, CDs have their strength, and I love them both. I'd love to hear your opinion. Number three, how do you manage to give attention to your whole collection? Does it ever feel like you're listening to 20% of your collection 100% of the time? How do you rotate? How do you make sure the CD you bought 6 months ago, or the album, the vinyl that you bought 6 months ago, is not now sitting on the shelf, never to be played again, while you keep playing your same favorites over and over? I struggle with that a little bit. I try and, so what I do is I keep heavy rotation. So these are the albums mainly that I just bought, or ones that I enjoy listening to a lot. So recently got into Big Star and got to their albums, so that's kind of thing. I love Donovan. I've been listening to a lot of Donovan lately. I just got this Dylan Mo-Fi for Blood on the Tracks, which is really getting a lot of love in the house. I picked up this on Record Store Day, the Elton John double album. That's probably going on the shelf. I'm not listening to it that much. My favorite Canadian artist, Kathleen Edwards. This is just recent, so I've been giving that some love. These 2 volumes of Fleetwood Mac. Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead are big fans of, so they're always close at hand. Jimmy, I love Jimmy. I've got all his studio stuff here. Axis, Are You Experienced, and Electric Ladyland, and Band of Gypsies. Just recently got this jazz album, 2 Jazz at Massey Hall, so that's getting a lot of love. Jefferson Airplane's another band I love. Got a couple of their albums kicking out here. The Kinks, Another record store day store purchase. Zeppelin's not too far from me all the time. What else is in here? McCartney Half Speed. I love the Beatles, so McCartney, that's a great album. Astro Weeks, one of my favorite albums of all time, is always up there. Some Floyd, Stones, Young Rascals, and Zappa, Hot Rats. That's kind of my, they are my, in my heavy rotation right now. I also have a box that I keep heavy rotation CDs in. So what's in this? I just picked this up at Walmart this morning for $8. The Best of the Highwaymen. I didn't have either of their albums, and this is so freaking good, man. It's so good. John Hartford, one of my favorite roots musicians. Ariel Playing. What else is in here? The Third Mind. I got this album earlier this year, and I just freaking love it. Thanks to Steve Carlson and Mazzy for turning me on to this. It's just stayed in heavy rotation since the day I got it. I listened to it an awful lot. It's a great frickin' record. What else have I got going on here? The new Dylan. Still playing that. The new Norah Jones. Still playing that. David Bromberg, another one of my favorite acoustic musicians. He's got a couple in here that are always sticking. Earl Scruggs Review. This is one that was sitting on my shelf for the longest time, and I hadn't listened to it forever, and I'm just loving it. So this just went into heavy rotation in the past few weeks. Here's kind of a cool album if you're into prog rock. Arthur Brown, remember that? I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. But this is an album he did after, Galactic Zoo Dossier, with Arthur Brown's Kingdom Come. What a great record that is. Neil Young's Harvest. I don't have it on vinyl. I'm gonna pick it up one of these days. Sunvolt's a favorite of mine. American Central Dust. The Great Fairport Convention album, Unhalf-Bricking, is in here. What else? Blue Oyster Cult album that I picked up used. I'm just kind of getting into them. I know the songs like The Reaper and that, but these guys are pretty good. Who else is in here that's kind of cool? I love Indian music. Anushka Shankar, got her stuff in here. Mazzy turned me on to this album too. Gene Clark, No Other. From the minute I bought that a few months ago, it hasn't been out of heavy rotation either. Great record. Great album. Oh, what else might be in here that's of interest? Townes Van Zandt. Probably go back on the shelf. I'm not really listening to it that much, although I love Townes. Taj Mahal's first album. That's a great blues album. For some reason, I started getting into REM again. This is my favorite REM album, Document. So, give you an idea how I do it. So, some of those got to come out of here, and I'm going to stick a few more in. I'll go through and pick a few that I haven't been listening to lately and stick them in. Okay, so, number 4. If you're in a relationship and you have a spouse, I would like to know if you listen together. If not, how do you manage listening time? Like, my wife loves music, but she's not one just to sit and listen to music. She'll put it on for background stuff, or when we're in the car or whatever. But she is a music lover, just not passionate enough just to sit and put a record on and just sit there staring at it and listening to it and absorbing it. So what we do, because we're retired now, we get up in the morning, we have breakfast together, then I go down into my music room and I spend all morning down there, whatever we're doing, puttering around or watching TV or whatever. We kind of just split up and have our own alone time, eat lunch together, and then in the afternoon we spend apart again. I come downstairs, that's when I start listening to music mid-afternoon till 5:30 or so, and then back upstairs, and we spend the rest of the evening together until bedtime. We go to bed, so we get chances to have alone time, plus do what we love to do as individuals as well. It works really well for us, so we have a great marriage, and I love her to death, and yeah, it's working. It's working. Okay, number 5. Do you and your spouse share this passion for music? So I've kind of answered that question already. Be interested how many of you actually, your wife and you actually are both out digging for records and sit and listen and together and that interesting. Number 6. Do you and your wife have the same taste in music? So I have a very eclectic taste in music, and I'd say my wife probably doesn't listen to 80% of what I listen to. She hates Bob Dylan. She hates Tom Waits. She hasn't got time really for a lot of heavy, Zeppelins and Deep Purples and stuff like that. Is not her bag at all. Um, she likes, she likes the Beatles and Fleetwood Mac. Kathleen Edwards is a favorite. Jackson Brown, that kind of thing. So yeah, and I love all those artists too. So it's cool when we're like are listening in the car together. That's kind of stuff we get. Oh, she loves Hall and Oates, so we'll listen to all that stuff together while we're driving around and that. So number 7. Do you have a dedicated music room? Do you guys just have your stereo in your living room or your bedroom, or I mean, if you live in a small place? I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I have a finished basement, and that is dedicated for music, and that's thanks for that I have that. I give thanks for it every day. It's important to me, and I love it. Number 7. Okay, that was number 7. Do you have a dedicated music room? I'm sorry. Number 8. Are you content with your playback system? Do you have a nice stereo or a stereo that you are satisfied with? We can all have better stuff all the time. It's like, are somebody more of an audiophile who's always looking to improve your system and tinker with cables and things like that? Or like, I have nice equipment. But once I set it up and have it up, I'm fine with it. I'm getting a new cartridge, an upgraded cartridge for my turntable next week. But after that, that's it. I have changed my speakers recently, new amp, new turntable. So I've kind of almost turned the whole thing over, except for my Oppo Universal Blu-ray player, which I've had for a few years now, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, but I'm not really a tinkerer when it comes to cables, and you got to put a upgraded fuse in the amp and a new power source and all this kind of stuff. It's I am not into that at all. But I'm satisfied with my system. It's great for me. I love it. Okay, number 9. Low volume or loud listening. Unfortunately for me, I like listening to music really loud, but the house I'm in, it goes through the floor. It goes. So when my wife's upstairs, there's a certain level I can play it at where it's not bugging her when she's watching TV or whatever. She'll let me know, hey, it's getting crawling up there a bit too loud. So it's yeah. So I'm kind of a medium volume, but I wish I could blast it because I would. Okay, number 10. Show us a record or CD that you just want to talk about, because that's what we do here. So I thought I'd end it with something like that. So talking about my spouse and whatever, what we share. So that's why I thought I'd show an album and an artist that we both passionately love, Jackson Brown. I kind of turned my wife on to Jackson Brown when we were first together. When we first moved in together, I was listening to a lot of Jackson Brown, and she was her ears were perking up, and she's become quite the fan. She loves him. We drove to Cleveland, Ohio a few years ago. Man, it must have been 8 years ago now or something, to see Jackson at one of those outdoor pavilion things. Jackson Brown, Kev Moe, and Steve Earle. Triple bill. Great show. But anyway, love Jackson Brown. This is his first album. It's actually entitled Jackson Brown, but everyone calls it Saturate Before Using because that's what it says. But that was actually on the bag, not... There's the title of the album. This one's his first album with Dr. My Eyes on it. It's got great songs. Jamaica Say You Will. Song for Adam is awesome. From Silver Lake. Looking Into You is a beautiful song. Rock Me on the Water, my opening farewell. Great album. Jackson Browne. Uh, who else plays on this? Is there anybody? Um, Jim Gordon plays on it. Sneaky Pete. Jimmy Fadden from Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Lee Kinkle and David Crosby lends some harmony vocals, but wonderful performer Jackson Browne. So that's my album. Anyway, that's my 10 questions, I think, or whatever many questions that was. I kind of hope people get involved in this and tell us about your listening habits and your rooms and whatever else, and comments you want to make. Love the VC. Love you all. We'll talk soon. Take care.